In this video, I'll try to refute some of the theories that are associated with the black hole sun, also known as the axis mundi, also known as the aurora borealis and/or northern magnetic field. One thing that you have to consider is that all compasses point north. So that's an indicator right there that there is no southern magnetic pole. There's just a northern one. And there should only be, in my opinion, there is possibly maybe mostly northern lights rather than southern lights. I mean, this is a bit of a stretch here, and you can sometimes prove something called the aurora australis, but the aurora australis is also kind of false. So we'll show you something really quickly right here. Okay, so this is who lives in Antarctica. Where's the other part? There's one little part right up here. Okay, so after the Antarctica Treaty in, I believe, 1959 it was, people would travel. The only people allowed in Antarctica are really scientists for the most part, so you can't get down there if you're a civilian. It has 66 scientific bases, which is also kind of like a hidden, like 666, hidden to a certain extent. That's a bit of an exaggeration, I know, but if you look at it like this, like 6 times 6 is 36. It's like saying 3 number 6 is there. So we have that. But with Antarctica in general, I mean, if you think about it like this, why would they section off Antarctica with a treaty after discovering the continent? I mean, because it wasn't really explored thoroughly until supposedly just after World War II with Admiral Byrd and his expedition there, and the Nazis supposedly had some incursions down there as well, but that's based on some speculation. So generally, why would they section off this section of the world when we've explored every other portion of this world, and we've tried to drill and mine for everything under the sun except for Antarctica? Because if you look at this, we're going for oil in the North Pole, and they were displaying that in the news a couple years ago. And they were just trying to say, hey, we're going to start drilling in the Arctic. It's a good idea. The North Pole Arctic. It's a great idea. Let's go for it, kind of thing. But they haven't really decided to start drilling here. So it's kind of bizarre. And you have to ask some questions like, why is this section of the world, cordoned off? It's because of the fact that if you get too far into the continent, you hit what's called the firmament. The firmament rises up out of Antarctica. It rises up from an ice wall. So that the thin glass-like layer, it's the thin glass-like layer that God produced called the firmament, rises up in Antarctica. And you have the waters above the firmament and the waters below the firmament. And they don't want people to go there and to find out about the firmament. Like, if you walked into it, I'm sure you would probably die, because it's a solid glass-like layer that you can't go through at all. That's basically it. That's why they sectioned off Antarctica. They don't want people down there to know about this. And it's kind of bizarre that they wouldn't go here to drill and mine for various minerals and oil. They haven't been doing that at all, and they've done that in every other section of the world. So it's a little bit bizarre. And it's also bizarre that only scientists are allowed down here. There's some tourists down here, it says, but the tourists that are allowed down here are basically allowed to go on, the closest they get is the Antarctica Peninsula, and that's like the little island that juts off. Do we have a map here that juts off the, well, here's a rough map. It's a little peninsula that juts off here, and you're allowed on that, and the rest of this is off limits, basically, for the most part. So that's a bit bizarre that they do this for the Antarctic continent, and it's a landmass, and they don't do this for the North Pole. The North Pole, there's no treaty that you can't go there. You're allowed to go to the North Pole. So anyway, and it's also like some red flags are that you can't. Your like I said, your compasses will only point north because of the magnetic field up there. So we have that. We also have the fact that this symbol is only featured in pagan religions for the most part. It's pretty much only featured in these types of religions that that worship the fallen angels. Most of the older faiths before Christianity that were polytheistic all worship the fallen angels in some way, shape, or form. Like Zeus, for example, has a lightning bolt that's reflecting Satan. Satan fell to earth, has a lightning bolt. That's what that's reflecting there. And so these are basically all from pagan religions, all from polytheistic fallen angel. The fallen angels basically established help establish these religions with the hope of deceiving people from the true faith. And what they did was they put some truth into these religions so that this way they're telling you part of the truth, but they're trying to wrap it in lies and deceive you a bit, because that's what they do. Satan is the father of all lies. He's the god of this world. So that's generally what they did, and why their theories for the pagan faiths, like such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, are all kind of like based off of lies, basically. And I'll show that to you. We have, let's see here. We have, and there's also, this symbol is also features in churches too. And it's also features in medieval, basically, tapestries. So the Christians knew about it too, but for the most part, it tends to be most prominent in pagan symbols and iconography for pagan faiths, because this is their thing, basically. And I'll show you how it's kind of like their thing. We have a guy by the name of Devin Magdy. He is a proponent of the black hole sun. He wants people to go there and to hop into it, and he claims that it's kind of like you'll get put back into your true self, your true body. It'll be like heaven on earth almost if you hop into the black hole sun. And you'll notice here that he started that it's called Shambhala down here. I believe this is in the Buddhist faith that they refer to as Shambhala. And you notice you have the word sham here, sham meaning like counterfeit. So that right there is a red flag that this is kind of like based off of a lie. We have that. We also have, just take a look at like how this world is run. So like I said, Revelation 12:9, Satan deceives the whole world. So, and you can tell that, take a look at this song. We have it in this song where like Satan deceives the whole world. And I'll show you in the lyrics. This is a satanic ska band, Mephistopheles, from the 90s. So he's saying that his baloney has a first name, it's Satan, and he spells it out, and then he's saying that his baloney has a second name, and it's devil. So he's saying that, like, basically my lies have a first and second name, they're both the devil. So this world is cloaked in lies, and they're just reminding us and throwing it in our face again and again and again that this world is cloaked within lies. And so that's why what their other religions are saying about this thing is false. And what they want to do is almost have you hop into this thing and kill yourself, basically, and have yourself be a blood sacrifice for the fallen ones, for Satan. So we have that. And one thing I have to say about this guy is that he's really good at what he does, and he's very deceptive, and he does give you quite a bit of truth, just like polytheistic religions do. They give you quite a bit of truth, but he gives it to you wrapped in lies, so you get deceived by it, and you don't know what the way out is. You don't know what the truth is. He thinks this black hole sun is the way out of here, and that will lead to heaven on earth. And I'll show you things that are suspect on his page. He's basically trying to show us the good side of hell. Like he's part of let's say, like he's like a white wizard almost is one way to say it. So he said that in one of his videos, he said that Christ puts his blood into the black hole sun. That's kind of bizarre. It's kind of like this whole blood sacrifice thing. You don't want to. God does not want you to do that. And then we also have blood over intent, which he doesn't really back up blood over intent, but someone who follows his page, or someone who has similar points of view, is Quasi-Luminous, and he does this blood over intent thing in which he wants to bring heaven on earth, and you have to put your blood on the internet because that's the matrix in which it's represented on. And he also does blood. I believe he does. Yeah, he does blood over intent. Of course he does. So never mind. He does blood over intent, but so does Quasi-Luminous. They both do it. You can see it in his page down here. He'll do blood over intent. It's way down here. You can just take my word on it. If you view this page, you'll see what I mean. So he does blood over intent, which is basically them trying to bring heaven in on earth. So and what he's trying to do is bring in the false peace, the Antichrist almost, is what this whole blood over intent ritual thing seems. It's finger pricking rituals have gone back in many different pagan faiths too as well. So it's nothing new about that. There's nothing new under the sun. So that's that on that. And then we also have, he says that the moon, the cube, is a false light and a trap, meaning that you'll get, when you die, and if you don't go into the black hole sun to get get to your true self. He says if you go to the black hole sun, of course, you become, your complete self. If you go, let's say, the traditional way out that, that the Bible says to go out, which is the way I believe, which is that you come as a human, you die as a human. He says that you'll go to a false light that's generated by the moon and the cube. And he's talking about the cube. The cube's also referencing heaven. This is where he's basically showing his true colors a bit more and saying that the cube is evil, which in actuality the cube is heaven, because the book of Revelation states that there's a cube up in heaven that is equal width and length, and that shows that it's a cube. So he's saying that there's a false light there, and when you go back into this false light, you get recycled back into a different body, which is basically also showing you what Hinduism and Buddhism shows you, which is the cycle of samsara, which is birth and death, and I should say in reincarnation, in the cycle of samsara. So he's showing you basically a bunch of lies associated with pagan faiths, wrapped up into a bunch of lies, basically. And what he's trying to show you is just showing you a bunch of lies, but he's showing you some truth with these lies, which is why it's deceptive. And he says that you need to fall into this black hole sun, which is almost like saying you need to fall into hell. There's 7 layers of hell and 7 layers of heaven, so 7 layers of hell below. So he's saying you need to basically fall into hell. And who knows what this thing really is. If it's some form of a quantum machine, it will probably rip a person apart if they go into it, most likely. It's not something you'd want to hop into, at least in my opinion. He's basically setting us up for a massive blood sacrifice. I mean, he's saying, go here, go into the black hole sun and kill yourself, basically. And so we're going to take another look, if we have enough time, to look at lyrics from Soundgarden. Let's take a look. I have the video there. Thought I had it up. So there. Okay, so we have the song "Black Hole Sun" by Soundgarden. And I'll play part of it because part of the lyrics on here do not reflect what the song actually says. This should say dream and not cream, and I'll show you that here just to put things to rest. So I only have a couple more minutes on this video, so let me wrap things up. He's basically saying, in my eyes, indisposed, in disguise as no one knows, hides the face, lies the snake. So this song is kind of like setting you up for the fact that the elites get lied to more so than they get lied to quite a bit, and they get deceived into thinking that these are the truths of this place. And this song is reflecting that. It's showing you that this guy's been deceived, and people like him are getting deceived into thinking that this is the truth. And I'll show you what I mean. Is that he's saying, like, hides the face, lies the snake. He's basically saying, reflecting this whole holographic image, how they're all how some of the elites are like lizard people, which is false. They're not lizard people, they're actual people. He's saying in disguise, no one knows, hides the face, lies the snake. He's reflecting the lizard people theory here, which is kind of like, in my opinion, a false theory. It's evil people. So that's one thing. It takes also the blame off of people and puts the blame on some sort of, force that doesn't really exist, in my opinion. The lizard people is kind of a ridiculous idea, and it places non-human blame on a clearly human problem. It's the secret societies and the humans who run them that have that are the problem here. And then he's saying in this line, "Call my name through the dream," and I'll just show you that should say "dream," and I'll hear you scream again. So he's talking about the fake dreams that they get. Sometimes I've had dreams where they're fake, and I'm screaming in them, and no one hears me scream outside. But the people who are listening in on the dream will hear me scream. He's talking about the black hole sun washing away the rain. Maybe he's talking about bringing heaven in on earth, washing away the rain of the floods that God brought, because their God is Satan, and they believe differently and a different theory behind what this place is. So anyway, stuttering, cold, and damp. This is like when you go through programming, you're stuttering, cold, and damp. You're put through hell basically to get into the Illuminati. You're put through physical and mental trauma. Stuttering's from the mental trauma, cold and damp's from the extreme sort of exercise you have to do. I've had to do similar things, which is kind of good for me and kind of bad at the same time. I've had to live on the bottom for a while. Times are gone for honest men. We might have to continue this video on the other one, but let me just wrap this. Sometimes too long for snakes. We'll get back to the rest of the lyrics probably on the other video, but you get the point. Have a good day and God bless.